Hey guys, Angel here. I am through the roof excited to finally be back on YouTube. Oh my goodness. And I know that you guys want to know all about this little doohickey thing that I had to wear for 30 days. Well, I'm going to talk about that in a whole other video because today I wanted to come back and bring you guys this video because I know without a shadow of a doubt I've experienced this, you've experienced this, my neighbors experienced this, your neighbor, the cat, the dog. Everybody has experienced sadness and depression at one point in time in their life. And so I want to share with you guys, I got an email from someone asking me to do a video because she mentioned that she's in business and that she's lately been thinking about putting her business on the back burner because she's dealing with so much. And she mentioned in the letter that her dad had passed away, I think she said approximately 4 years ago around this time. Her mom is not doing too well, and she's only 31, she's got 2 kids, and she's dealing with all of this. And so I want to say on the onset, you guys, depression is very, very real. Depression is not going to be cured in this little 5 to 6 to 7, however long this video is. It's not going to be cured. There are different types of depression. And the type of depression that I am not talking about, that I'm not addressing in this video is by definition, the definition of depression as an illness that involves the body, mood, and thoughts that affects the way a person eats, sleeps, feels about himself or herself, and thinks about and things like that. Depression is not the same as passing a blue mood. Meaning, you know how some people say, oh, I'm just kind of like in a blue mood. That's not this. That's the I'm sorry. Excuse me, let me start that over. I am talking about the depression that comes just to sit and you kind of feel like you're in a bad mood, but you're, you know, I can go put on some makeup and go feel better. That's the depression that I'm going to address today. I'm not talking about the clinical depression to where you have been dealing with something dealing with your thoughts for years and they've gone on unaddressed for years. That's not the depression that I'm going to mention here or that I'm going to be talking about in this video. More so, I'm going to be talking about this type of depression. And by definition, it says, most people feel sad or depressed at times. It's a normal reaction to loss and life struggles. But when sadness and including feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, and worthlessness last for days and weeks and keeps you from living your life, it may be something more to it than just sadness. So that's not the depression and the sadness that I'm talking about. If you have been depressed for years or for weeks, and this video is not going to help you, you actually do need to see a professional about that. You know, as coaches, we typically do not delve into people's past. However, sometimes you need to go in somebody's past just for a couple minutes, bring up their past just to get them caught up to where they are in their future. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And like I said, if your depression is deeper than what I am equipped to help you with, I beg of you to please seek more professional help. But in this video, I'm going to give you guys 4 simple tips to kind of get out of that funk, you know. And remember, I'm talking about a funk, not a serious depression, something that, you know, kind of things aren't going. Maybe you got a flat tire on the way to work, your hair didn't turn out right, you know, things that annoy us, and oftentimes that can send us into a sad state. Now, before I give you the points, I want to say this. Typically, when we're feeling sad, whenever you're feeling sad, literally ask yourself in that moment, what am I thinking about? What am I thinking about right now in this moment? And you will come to realize why you're so sad. You know, sadness comes from what you're thinking about, and depression starts there too with what you're thinking about. But we're not going to talk about the deep depression. And so you have to monitor your thoughts on a minute by minute, second by second basis. It's so powerful and it's so important in order to keep your energy up and to keep your life going in the way that you want it to actually go. And so number 1 is one of my favorite things to do. Number one is to get out in nature. Now, you guys know that I recently moved, and all around my house is nothing but trees and woods. And at first when we moved up here, I was like, oh my goodness, who lives in the woods like this? But now I absolutely love it. When you think about when you go to a nature spot, you know, a lot of people want to go to the park or want to go to the beach. Why is that? Because the vibration of life is so vibrant. When you walk into a forest, you know, the trees aren't trying to fix their hair. They're not trying to fix their makeup. They are just being what they were designed to be. However, when you walk into a room, you know, people, you know, want to make sure they're looking good and they want to adjust themselves. And so it's a different type of energy from when you walk into a room than when you walk into the forest or nature or into a park. And that is the purest form of energy that we can actually experience, is being in nature, being one, like literally being in the midst of nothing but trees and birds, and hopefully there's no lions and tigers and bears in the woods that you decide to walk into. But that can be a huge mood booster, is to get back to nature. Go take a walk, take off the stilettos, put on the tennis shoes, and go take a walk through nature. Number two is to put things into perspective. Oftentimes we have so much that we're dealing with in life. You know, we've got us to deal with, we have our children, we have our family members, we've got our friends, we've got work, we may have some deadlines in our business. And it's so important to put things into perspective. Everything is not like a code red, and everything does not have to be taken care of right away. But not everything needs to be taken care of by you. So keeping things into perspective, maybe giving out some of your responsibilities to people that are in your household so it can lighten up the load on yourself. But keeping things into perspective and watching your words, making sure that we don't say, you know, my life always turns out like that. When we say always, that's like, or when we say everybody is talking about something, we really need to watch that tone, because it's not, your life isn't always like this, and everybody isn't always talking about a particular thing. So you have to watch your words and keep things into perspective, because it's so easy for things to go haywire and get all out of sorts and all out of perspective. So keep things into perspective. Number three is to pick up a new hobby or an old hobby. What is something that you used to like to do that maybe now that you're an adult, you feel like you don't have time for it? I don't know. Maybe it's painting, maybe it's drawing, maybe it's singing, maybe it's dancing. Whatever that thing that you used to like to do, you know, oftentimes when we become adults, we think that, oh, that's childish, but there's still a little girl in us. So it's okay to indulge in those things that you used to like to do, but now that you're an adult, you no longer indulge in those things because maybe your schedule is completely filled up. But this is self-care, so it's important to put those things back on the calendar for yourself. And if you are done and over with your old hobbies, pick up a new one. You know, we're in 2018. There's Pinterest, there's YouTube, there's so many different outlets that we can look into to see what else can I try. This world is just so vast. Take your pick on whatever new hobby that you would like to pick up. And the last and final tip, which is one of the most important tips in getting out of your sadness and getting out of a slight depression, you guys. Remember, I'm going to keep saying that because I don't want you guys to think that I'm talking about a clinical depression where people have been depressed for years. But the last and final one, like I said, it's one of the most important, and it's also one of my favorites, is to help someone else in your time of need. I know, oftentimes when we're sad and when we're down on ourselves, we're thinking about ourselves and our situation and how bad it is and how tough it is and how unfortunate it is and maybe even how wrong it is that we're going through this particular thing. But when you take your eyes off of yourself and your situation, and you go help somebody else in their time of need, something miraculous just happens, and it makes you feel like, oh my goodness, I still do have a purpose in this life. Somebody else needs me. Even when I'm not feeling my best, there's still enough power inside of me that I can go and help someone else. That is extremely powerful. When you think about, you know, my God, in this country right now, there's so many school shootings and things like that. And I was watching the news the other day, and this one woman who lost her daughter, And rightfully so, you guys. This woman could have been in the fetal position, balled up crying, and I'm sure she's going to have her times or has had her times of that type of mourning. But the very, like 2 days after her daughter passed away, she was right back at that school, and she was championing for the other kids and making sure that the rest of the kids that are still alive and amongst us are going to be safe. She has every right to just check out of life right now and just be sad and be depressed. And like I said, I'm sure she's going to have her time. But in this moment, you know, she's deciding to take her eyes off of her situation and using the little bit of energy that she does have, and she's choosing to use that to help other people during their time of need. I've done that myself. I'm sure that there's many times when you guys have just been so down and out, and you just finally said, you know what? I'm going to get up out of this bed, and I'm going to put some clothes on, and I'm going to go help maybe people at the soup kitchen or people in your local shelter. When you take your eyes off of yourself and you put them on somebody else, that really helps you put your life in perspective. And sometimes you can often see that what I'm going through just isn't so bad. You know, other people have it more worse off than yourself. One last story before I end. I will never forget sharing, I used to, you guys know, well maybe you don't know, but I've done some work in my area in local shelters, and I remember sharing with one of the shelter. She was the, oh God, what was her position? She was like the manager there, and she had 4 children. 2 of them had passed away, like within a span of like 3 years. 2 of her children had passed away. And I remember saying something to my cousin, and many of you guys, if you guys have been connected to me for any amount of time, you know that I have a cousin that her son passed away from cancer when he was 14. And I remember sharing with my cousin that the manager of the homeless shelter had 4 children and she lost 2. And I'll never forget, and I don't even know if my cousin remembers even saying this, but when I shared that with her, she said, oh my goodness, like I couldn't imagine what she's going through. She lost 2 children. And so that right there, like me, the way that I look at my cousin, she is like my shero. She is one of the strongest women I know. And I look at her like, oh my God, how do you breathe? You lost a child. And she lost a child, but then she was able to look at someone else that's lost 2 children and say, my God, I couldn't imagine that. And so do you see, there's always somebody that's going through something worse. But when we sit in our close little quarters or in our beds, we're not able to see that because we're stuck in what we're going through, and we're not putting ourselves out there in order to go out and see that other people really do have it sometimes 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, 1,000 times worse than what we do. So guys, this video, like I said, is not for people that have been dealing with depression for a really long time. If you're kind of like in a funk and you need to get shaken up, this video is for you. I absolutely love you guys so much, and I promise I'll come back with another video and I'll tell you guys all about this little thing, and then of course I'll bring you guys more videos that you guys have been waiting for. I love each and every one of you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. That's it. That's it, you guys. But this is the part where I'm actually going to, where I'll be editing this part when we do the edits. Okay, back to the video. All right. Today, they don't sit